Hello everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're doing something that many people enjoy, bringing an old machine back to life. Our subject is the ThinkPad X230, a classic business laptop that still delivers surprisingly powerful performance when paired with a lightweight Linux distribution. In this episode, we'll be installing SolydK 13 from start to finish. If you've ever looked at an old laptop and thought, perhaps this thing's broken, then this episode is for you. The answer is often no. With the right operating system, a bit of patience, and a careful installation process, a machine like the X230 can once again become a reliable everyday computer. Before we begin, I'd like to clarify one thing. This isn't simply a matter of clicking through an installer. It's about preparing the machine, backing up your data, selecting sensible default settings, and ensuring a stable outcome. So whether you're watching live or simply listening to learn, this episode will guide you through the entire process. Right then, let's get started. The first step is to download the SolydK 13 ISO file. For this step, you will need a fully functional computer with an internet connection. Open your web browser, search for SolydXK on Google, and visit the official SolydXK website. The address is solydxk.com. That's solydxk.com. At the top of the homepage, you will see a navigation bar. Click on Download. On the SolydXK download page, you'll see that there are several versions and themes available. We need to find SolydK. You can either click ISO to start the download straight away, or choose the mirror server that suits you best. On the SolydK download page, you'll see the SolydK 13 ISO file. Click the download link, and the file will start downloading automatically. The SolydK 13 ISO file is approximately 2.5 gigabytes in size, so please be patient. Whilst it is downloading, you might want to have a cup of coffee, or check the BIOS settings on your ThinkPad X230. Once downloaded, it is advisable to verify the integrity of the ISO file using the provided MD5 or SHA2-56 checksums. This ensures the file was not corrupted during the download. You will usually find instructions for this next to the download button on the SolydK page. Next, we'll convert the SolydK ISO file into a bootable USB drive. This will serve as our installation medium. To do this, I recommend using the Rufus tool on Windows or the Balena Etcher tool on Windows, macOS, or Linux. Both tools are free, open source, and very easy to use. Once you have downloaded the SolydK ISO file and installed Etcher, insert your USB drive. When you open Etcher, the interface is very straightforward. Three main buttons will appear on the screen. The first button is Flash from File. Click this button, navigate to the location where you saved the SolydK ISO file, and select it. The second button, Select Target. Insert the USB drive into your computer, then click Select Target. Etcher will display the available drives. Be very careful to select your USB drive and not any other drive. Etcher helpfully labels the drives, showing their capacity and name, which helps to avoid selecting the wrong one. However, you should still double-check carefully. Third button, Flash. Once you have confirmed the ISO file and the target drive, click the Flash button. Etcher will prompt you to enter administrator or sudo credentials. This is normal, as writing to the drive requires higher privileges. Enter your password and confirm. This process may take a few minutes. Depending on the speed of your USB drive, you will see a progress bar. Please do not remove the USB drive or close the Etcher program whilst this is in progress. Once the flashing is complete, Etcher will automatically run a verification step, reading the content just written to ensure it matches the source file. This is another effective integrity check. Upon completion, you will receive a confirmation message. Do not format the USB drive once this is finished. Simply eject it safely. Once the SolydK bootable USB drive has been created, we insert it into the ThinkPad X230. Switch on the ThinkPad X230, then immediately press the F1 key repeatedly to enter the BIOS utility settings. In the BIOS, use the right arrow key to navigate to the Restart tab, set OS Optimized Defaults to Enabled, and press Enter to confirm. Next, press the F9 key to restore the default settings, then press Enter to confirm. Finally, press the F10 key to save and exit, then press Enter to confirm. The ThinkPad X230 will now restart. When the Lenovo boot screen appears again, press the F12 key to enter the boot menu. In the boot menu, select Boot from USB HDD and press Enter to confirm your selection. Following a brief black screen, our ThinkPad X230 laptop will boot directly from the USB drive into the fully featured SolydK Live desktop, which runs entirely from the USB drive without accessing our internal hard drive. Even on older hardware, such as the ThinkPad X230, SolydK boots up quite quickly. It took just under a minute and a half. We were then presented with SolydK's attractive live desktop. As you can see, this is precisely the desktop we're going to install. It looks modern, clean, and fully functional. At the bottom of the screen, you'll see the familiar Plasma panel. In the bottom left corner are the traditional application menu, taskbar, and system tray. In the bottom right corner, you can clearly see the digital clock, network status, and audio controls. It immediately feels familiar, especially if you've used Windows before. In this SolydK live desktop environment, you can test whether all the hardware on your ThinkPad X230 is working properly. For example, Wi-Fi, audio, the touchpad, the keyboard, and USB ports. This is your chance to spot any compatibility issues before installation. You can also use the live environment to access your existing drives. If you haven't wiped the data yet, you can copy any files you need, although you should have backed them up already. Within SolydK's live desktop, you can also test or try out the operating system's various features. All of this ensures that SolydK is compatible with your ThinkPad X230's hardware before installation. If the tests go smoothly, we can start the installation. On the SolydXK live desktop, you will see an icon labeled SolydXK Installer. Double-click it to launch the installer. The SolydXK installer is based on the Calamars framework, a graphical installer with a clean interface and intuitive operation. It is generally very stable and reliable and is used by many Linux distributions. It will guide us step by step through the entire installation process. Step 1. Set your preferred language. This is usually set to your preferred language by default, but you can scroll through the list and select any language you prefer. This determines the display language of the installer interface and, more importantly, will automatically configure the system's regional settings, keyboard layout, and some system prompts. Click Next to continue. Step 2. Set your location. Click on your region on the map or select your continent from the drop-down menu. Then choose your city or region. This will set your location and time zone, ensuring that your clock is always accurate. Click Next to continue. Step 3. Set your keyboard layout. If you are in the United States, the default option may be US English, but if you are using a different physical keyboard layout, please select it here. There is a text box at the bottom of the screen where you can type test characters to confirm that the layout matches your expectations before continuing. This is more important than people realize. If you select the wrong one, you will struggle with the symbols and punctuation on your keyboard throughout the installation process, unless you change it later in the system settings. Once you've confirmed everything is correct, click Next to continue. Step 4. Disk partitioning. For most users, particularly if you wish to make SolydK your sole operating system, or if you are able to erase everything on the ThinkPad X230's hard drive, please select Erase Disk. This is the simplest option and is strongly recommended for most users installing SolydK as their sole operating system. It will erase your entire hard drive and automatically create the necessary partitions. If you choose this option, please ensure you have backed up your data. Click Next to continue. Step 5. Create your user account. Enter your name, username, computer name, and password. Here, you can also tick the boxes to require a strong password, log in automatically without entering a password, and use the same password as the administrator account. Be sure to remember your password, as you will need it to log into the system and perform administrative tasks in future. Click Next to continue. Step 6. Review your installation summary. The installer now displays a summary of everything we have configured, including language, location, keyboard layout, partition scheme, and user accounts. Please read through this carefully. Pay particular attention to the partitioning section. Ensure that the correct hard drive is selected and that the partition layout appears correct. If you spot any errors, click the back button to return and make corrections. If everything looks correct, click Install. Step 7. The system begins installation. During this time, the installer will copy files, install the system, and configure everything. The installer will copy files from the USB drive to the hard drive, install the bootloader, and configure the system. On this ThinkPad X230 laptop, the SolydK installation process actually took just under 5 minutes. During this time, you will see a progress bar and various messages explaining what is happening at each stage, as well as SolydK slides. You do not need to do anything at this stage. Step 8. Installation complete. The installer informs us that SolydK has been successfully installed. We can now choose to restart and boot into the new system, or continue using the SolydK live environment. We will now click Done to restart the computer and apply the new operating system. Once the screen goes black during the restart, you must remove the USB installation media. This is crucial to ensure your ThinkPad X230 does not attempt to boot from the USB again. Once the Lenovo logo appears, we see the SolydK 13 bootloader. A moment later, the KDE Plasma login screen appears. Enter the password you created during installation. Press the Enter key. Within a few seconds, the Plasma desktop appears. Congratulations! It is no longer running from a USB stick. It is now running the operating system you installed yourself. This is our newly installed SolydK 13 on the ThinkPad X230. After installing any Linux distribution, the first thing I do is spend a few minutes exploring it. No configuration, no software installation, just exploring. Clicking on Menus, opening the Settings app, browsing through the installed utilities, getting to know the desktop. One of Linux's greatest strengths is its discoverability. Almost everything is visible. Almost every feature can be configured. KDE Plasma encourages users to explore features rather than hiding them. For a freshly installed Linux system, one of our most important tasks is to ensure the system is fully up to date. Although the SolydK 13 ISO is up to date, new security patches and software updates are constantly being released. Some users wonder why they must update immediately after installation. After all, haven't we just installed the latest version? Not necessarily. The installation image may have been created weeks or even months before you downloaded it. During that time, security updates, vulnerability fixes, driver improvements, and application updates have been released. We therefore need to update immediately to ensure the system starts with the latest software. Click the Applications menu, that is, the button in the bottom left corner of the screen, which may display the SolydK logo or a dot matrix image. Navigate to System, then locate the Synaptic Package Manager. Click on the Synaptic Package Manager to launch it. After entering your password, click Reload to update the list of available software. This may take a little time. The duration will generally depend on your internet speed. Next, click Mark All Upgrades. Synaptic will inform you that this action will affect other packages. Click Mark to continue. Next, click Apply to apply the changes. A list of available updates will be displayed. Once you click Apply, Synaptic will begin downloading the packages that need upgrading. The download time usually depends on your internet speed. Once the download is complete, Synaptic will automatically install the packages you have just downloaded. Of course, this crucial task of updating the system can be carried out efficiently via the terminal using the apt package manager. Now, let's open a terminal window. You can usually find it in the Applications menu, or use the common shortcut Ctrl+Alt+T. If you're new to Linux, don't worry. Today's instructions are straightforward. Our first command is sudo apt updates. Let's take a closer look. Sudo stands for super user do, and it temporarily grants administrative privileges to execute commands. This is necessary for system-level operations, such as updates. apt is the Advanced Package Tool, a command line utility used to manage packages on Debian and its derivative distributions. And update is the specific action we want apt to perform. When you run this command, it does not actually install any new software or updates. Instead, it performs an important preparatory step, retrieving the latest information on available packages from all configured SolydXK and Debian software repositories. You can think of it as refreshing the system's catalog of available software, ensuring the system is aware of the latest versions and security patches. The system will prompt you to enter your user password. Please enter it carefully, then press the Enter key. A small but important security tip: you will not see the characters on the screen as you type your password. This is a standard security feature. In a Linux terminal, this is necessary to prevent others from peering over your shoulder. Once this process is complete, and you see the command prompt return, we will proceed to the next step. Now that our package list has been refreshed, we can upgrade all installed packages to their latest versions. To do this, we use the sudo apt upgrade command. This command thoroughly analyzes your system, identifies all packages in the software repositories for which updated versions are available, and displays a complete list of these packages. It provides a detailed breakdown of which packages will be installed, upgraded, or removed. It will then ask you to explicitly confirm whether you wish to proceed with the upgrade. Type Y to agree, then press the Enter key to start the upgrade process. It is worth noting that, on occasion, for more significant system upgrades, or when dealing with complex dependency changes, you may encounter the apt full upgrade command. This command is more thorough and may remove existing packages to resolve dependency issues. However, for routine updates, apt upgrade is usually sufficient and safer. For our freshly installed SolydK system, apt upgrade will handle everything perfectly. This process may take some time, depending on the number of updates, which can be quite substantial on a fresh installation, and the speed of your internet connection. However, this is an excellent opportunity to see how our X230 copes with a sustained workload. The Intel Core i5-3320M processor may cause the cooling fan to spin up, indicating that it is working hard to process the updates, but as far as I am aware, it should be able to complete the package management and installation smoothly, without any noticeable slowdown or overloading. This demonstrates the efficiency of the SolydK operating system and the underlying Debian architecture, which are designed to be highly robust even on lower spec hardware. You will see lines of text scrolling across the screen, indicating the progress of downloading, unpacking, and configuring each package. This gives you an in-depth insight into how the system works internally. Once the system upgrade is complete, the command prompt will return. At this point, your SolydK system will have all its patches installed, will be secure and reliable, and will be ready for further customization, and, more importantly, for installing the applications you require. Once the updates have been installed, we need to restart the computer so that the updates take effect. Fortunately, restarting Linux usually takes only a short time. Back on the desktop, it's time to check hardware support. Open System Settings. Locate the section labeled About this system. Here we will see information relating to our software and hardware. On the software side, we can see KDE Plasma version, KDE Frameworks version, Qt version, kernel version, and graphics platform. On the hardware side, we can see processors, memory, graphics processor, manufacturer, product name, system version, and serial number. If everything looks correct, this indicates that the hardware has been detected successfully. Next, I'd like to talk about what I know about SolydK 13. SolydXK is the parent project. It's called SolydXK because it has two versions, namely SolydX and SolydK, which began in 2013. At the time, Linux Mint had a Debian-based edition using the XFCE desktop environment. When Linux Mint decided to discontinue support for that edition, a developer named Arjun Balfort took up the mantle and relaunched it under a new name. That was the birth of SolydXK. The naming convention is straightforward once you understand it. SolidX uses the XFCE desktop environment, a lighter, more traditional option. SolydK uses the KDE Plasma desktop, the more visually rich and feature-packed version. The underlying system is the same, the philosophy is the same, only the desktop environment differs, and this foundation is Debian, not Ubuntu, nor an Ubuntu derivative, pure Debian. This is important for the following reasons. Debian's reputation is entirely well-deserved, as it is exceptionally stable and everything is thoroughly tested before release. The Debian project does not rush to release new versions to meet fixed schedules. Historically, new stable releases have been issued approximately every 2 years, with each version receiving several years of ongoing security support. This philosophy is directly embedded in SolidXK. SolidK 13 is built on Debian 13, codenamed Trixie, which brings a vast number of package updates, tens of thousands in total, a significant proportion of which have been updated compared to the previous stable release. Why is building on the stable version of Debian rather than a more cutting-edge release particularly important for an older laptop? Because stability and predictability are precisely what you need on hardware that is already 14 years old. You don't want a distribution that constantly pushes brand new, inadequately tested kernel versions and driver stacks. You need software with a clear, steady release cycle, thoroughly tested packages, and a long support window. This is the core value proposition of Debian as a whole, and SolidK inherits it directly. So, what does SolidK add on top of standard Debian? There are several points. It comes with a carefully curated selection of software, so you won't be starting from a completely bare-bones system. You'll have a web browser, an email client, a full Office suite for documents, spreadsheets, and presentations, and a media player capable of handling most common video and audio formats, without having to hunt for additional codec packages afterwards. It also includes its own custom update manager, built on top of the standard package management tools, designed to make it easier for users who are not accustomed to working entirely via the terminal to keep their system up to date. Of course, the most striking feature is the KDE Plasma desktop, version 6 of which is the default for this generation. Without a doubt, KDE Plasma is one of the most customizable and visually refined desktop environments in the entire Linux ecosystem. It looks very modern. It boasts smooth animations, blur effects, highly configurable panels, and a start menu, virtual desktops, widgets, the whole shebang. If you've used Windows and are nervous about making the switch, KDE Plasma is usually the gentlest option, as many of its default layouts, the taskbar at the bottom, the start menu in the corner, the system tray, will feel instantly familiar. The trade-off is worth bearing in mind, and I'll emphasize this repeatedly, as it's the very crux of today's program, because all this visual richness does consume system resources. Every blur effect, every animation, and every desktop widget refreshing in the background takes up a small amount of CPU and memory, resources that wouldn't be used at all in a more streamlined desktop environment. On a modern machine with 16 GB of RAM and a fast processor, these are negligible. On a dual-core laptop from 2012, this issue warrants a second thought, but as I mentioned earlier, it is perfectly workable provided the settings are configured correctly, which we'll go through together later. Let's briefly touch on the practical aspects. What you'll actually be downloading. As of the version we're discussing today, SolidK 13 is released as a single 64-bit installable ISO image, approximately 2.5 GB in size. It's worth noting that earlier versions of SolidK, as well as earlier Debian-based distributions, sometimes provided 32-bit builds for truly ancient hardware. The current SolidK 13 does not. It supports 64-bit only. Returning to our earlier discussion on hardware, this is absolutely fine for the X230, as its processor fully supports 64-bit. This won't be an issue for us, but if you're listening to this and want to try the same project on a device older than the X230, you'd be well advised to check this detail carefully first. I think there's one more point worth mentioning. As a project, SolydXK has a relatively small maintenance team, far smaller than the giants such as Ubuntu or Fedora. This isn't meant to disparage it. Many excellent and reliable distributions are maintained by small, dedicated teams. It simply means that the community surrounding it is smaller, and there are fewer online tutorials specifically for SolydK. If you encounter some obscure issues, you may find yourself relying more on general Debian and KDE resources rather than those specific to SolydK, as the underlying system is Debian and the desktop environment is the standard KDE Plasma. In practice, this is usually irrelevant, as most of the issues you encounter will essentially be problems with Debian or KDE itself, and both have extensive documentation. Finally, let's briefly discuss everyday use. The ThinkPad X230 running SolydK 13 is ideal for writing, emailing, browsing, light coding, note-taking, and media consumption. It isn't designed to compete with modern high-end workstations, but that isn't the point. The focus is on reliable and comfortable computing, running on hardware that remains capable. To keep it running smoothly, avoid overloading it with too many applications at startup, maintain reasonable storage usage, and update it regularly. If you've installed an SSD, protect its lifespan by ensuring you keep some free space. If you've kept the original hard drive, be even more disciplined about backing up your data. Also, remember that older laptops usually require simple maintenance. Clean the fans, check the battery, and ensure the keyboard and ports are kept in good condition. A little care goes a long way. I hope this guide has been helpful and inspires you to breathe new life into your old ThinkPad or other vintage laptop with SolydK. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. If you've tried SolydK or have any questions about installing it on your own hardware, please leave a comment below. The Linux community is incredibly helpful, and there are plenty of resources available, including the official Debian forums and the SolydXK community page. Thank you very much for watching. See you in our next video.